your flesh and blood.
Welcome to Tell Me Your Story with Dennis Henson. This is a brand new series we hope that you will enjoy, and it's called Body of Health. Dennis, welcome, and let us start out by telling people about, I guess best way to put it is our disclaimer.
Okay. Well, Richard, thank you so much for having me on this series. I'm really excited about doing this, but I think it's very important that everyone understand that neither of us are medical doctors or have any kind of medical training. We are just people who are very interested in health and being able to get better faster, so that if you have some problem, that gives you a place to go to find things that have worked for other people that may help you, or they may not, but there'll be something worthwhile checking out.
Body of Health is going to be here every week. The website that we're going to suggest you go to for information, number one website is dennisjhenson.com, which we will have in the audio and video podcast videocast. But there's also a Facebook location, and basically it's facebook.com/groups/body of health. Once again, facebook.com/groups, that's plural, groups/body of health. We hope that you will go there to check out the information that Dennis has provided with us. And with that, we move into Body of Health. I'm Reverend Dr. D. He is my co-host, Dennis Henson. He is, I don't know if I'd want to necessarily use the term, although he might, real estate mogul. He's an author, inspirational writer, and speaker. And he is sharing with us on this program as we kind of collaborate together, sharing our observations, perspectives on body of health, helping you to live a higher quality of life. That's what this is all about. Dennis, welcome to the program. I'm excited about today's program, and I'm excited about what we're going to find out here on Body of Health today.
Well, thank you, Richard. I appreciate you having me. This is always a lot of fun. Today, we're going to be talking about a longevity blueprint and all the things that you need to do to live a longer and healthier life. But before we get into that, let's just mention that neither of us are doctors. Well, you're a doctor, but not a.
But I don't own a stethoscope.
And the things that we're sharing are just things that we've learned. And the reason I've learned these things is because I suffered a series of severe strokes several years ago. And I made it my goal to learn about health. And the things I learned, I started sharing, and other people benefited from that. And so I created a little business called the Body of Health, and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Absolutely. And we're going to be focusing on the specific things that help us to live longer and add truly vibrant, healthy years to our lives, which is what this is all about. So let's start off by going into this phenomenal, comprehensive framework for mapping out cellular health and longevity. I could go into a comment, if you will, on that, but today we will cover a longevity blueprint. You don't even need to be an architect on this one. This is an easy blueprint that you can create that Dennis is going to share with us, with a few key high-impact psychological markers that added to a full roundup each. We're going to talk about each category. So, you know what? Rather than me yammering on, let's get started, and let's start with what we need to boost our years, if you will, quality of years.
Okay, we have several topics today. We'll start with the boost topic. The things you need to boost in order to live longer and be healthier is your nutrient supply. That would be your supplements, the things that you eat, the salts that you take, the supply of nutrients. Your body needs these nutrients in order to heal itself. The next thing to boost would be obviously your overall health, your digestion, and your immune system. So if all of those things are working properly, your chances of living longer are multiplied greatly.
All right. Well, let's jump in here and let's talk about let's take a step deeper on a cellular level. We also need to boost what is this? Blood circulation, insulin sensitivity. Boy, I could talk a little bit about that. Antioxidants and stem cells. Can you let's talk a little bit about those?
Well, if your blood's not circulating, you don't live very much longer. And that's
That
the
is
reason
true.
that I found that out when I started having that series of strokes. I went to the doctor and he said, well, your arteries and veins are all clogged up, and so the blood can't get through, and that's what's causing the strokes. The blood's not getting to your brain. And the next thing will be your heart. You're probably going to have a heart attack and pass away. So I thought, I need to figure this out pretty quick. And so I did. And some of the programs that we've made have talked about that. So getting your blood circulation is a matter of nitric oxide. If you get enough nitric oxide consistently, your blood's going to flow a lot smoother and a lot better. And so the insulin sensitivity, you can talk about that because that's something that affects you greatly.
Indeed, it does. It's frustrating on one level because of a lot of the hyperbole, I'm going to say. By the same token, from my perspective, it seems difficult to get accurate information that I can trust. And I'll be the first to admit that, Dennis, I do tend to watch some of these short little videos, whether it's on Facebook. I don't have TikTok. I have no desire for that. Fortunately, a lot of these videos on type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance and so forth have kind of gone on to the wayside as far as my, I guess, the algorithm or what have you. But it is one of those things where, I mean, you and I can sit here doing this program and I can actually check my blood sugar as we speak. Okay. Because I have the little device and the meter and the stylus and the testing strip and all that stuff right at my fingertips. I have them here in the studio because every so often I feel like, maybe I should just kind of see where I'm at. And it's interesting how they now have a lot of these new devices you can put on your arm. It's like a patch, But what is so frustrating is that they give you all of these different symptoms, and I'm sitting here going, well, I feel great. I'm energetic. I'm doing all of these things. And I would know that, maybe you felt the same way, for example, prior to your stroke.
I
What
did.
are you talking about? I got to do this, that. I'm feeling great.
That's exactly what I thought. Yeah.
And then, there's this other element, and I'll wrap this up here. This other element where they give you the statistics, the averages. All right. Now, this is taking everybody else's information, putting it all together and coming up with a medium, I guess you call it. And I sit there going, okay, well, that's all fine, well and good that your blood sugar should be around 120 or your blood pressure, what is it, like 120 over 80, I guess, is the average. But we're all individuals. So who's to say that maybe my normal blood sugar is 130, 135, maybe even 140? And the range, of course, they say for, normal, high normal would be around 150, low normal, I guess, is at 80 for blood sugar. And so that's where I have the real issue with. And then there are other issues regarding stress. And I did some research. My doctor back in Santa Barbara disagrees that stress can have an effect on one's blood sugar, glucose levels. Well, I believe insulin, and don't quote me, folks, again, not a doctor. Insulin is a hormone. Stress affects the hormones. Insulin is one of them. Now, which way it affects them? Supposedly it causes them to go, the hormone or the glucose levels to rise. So if you get rid of the stress, like what we've talked about in terms of exercise, rebounding, doing all of these different things, getting out there and with your eyes closed, facing the sun, getting that vitamin D, and on and on and on, can go a long way to eliminate the stress, which may very well bring the blood sugar back to what we'll call normal levels.
Right. Before we leave the boost, there are a couple more things that we need to mention. We mentioned elasticity in veins and arteries. That's
Yes.
nitric oxide, not acid. And then another thing is autophagy. So that you get that through fasting. Autophagy is your cells cleaning up. It's your body eating the bad cells and disposing of those. And then mitochondrial function, that cellular energy, you need to boost that. And then the telomeres. You want to have healthy and you want to protect the telomeres. You want those things to continue to grow and prosper because if they don't, that's when you start to age. So you want to boost those. Those are very important.
You know, it's interesting. A lot of what you talk about with the terms that you use, I never heard of that before. That's a new term for me.
Well, it's these little things that have a little wiggly, I don't know exactly what you would call them, but if those little wiggly things get old and drop off, then you age quickly and die. So that's really, really important. It's the caps on the DNA. It's the protruding caps. And you need to study those and you need to boost those. If you can make those things last longer, you could live forever, which is probably something they're already looking into.
Oh, absolutely. On the one hand, living a long life, say it is in my case, living to be 100. Although there are those who say, yeah, we should be able to live to be 500 to 1,000 years of age. You should be able to live that long. On the one hand, it's like, well, that sounds cool because you're going to see a lot of cool things happening, you know, a lot of advancements and innovations and discoveries and all that stuff, right? At the same time, you're also going to be dealing with a lot of the trials and tribulations that man puts himself through over the centuries. So it's kind of do you really want to live that long? You know, I myself, I am happy. I will be happy, of course, if I am able to live to be 100, or, you know, I'd love to do like my parents. My mother this year, my turn of age is 66 this month, or actually it was last month, June. My mother will be 92. So if I could at least live to my parents' age, I'd be happy. But I'm also happy with living the natural life with good health and wellness, and then move on, you know. I can only imagine my father was born, for example, in 31. Well, you were born back then too, and you've seen some unbelievable changes in our world. I've seen some incredible changes, and I've only been here 66 years, Dennis.
You're just a child.
I'm just a kid, you know. And by the way, someone said that to me literally in my 65th year here, and I'm like, oh boy, I haven't heard that since I was in my 20s. This is very interesting stuff, and we're going to move on here to talk more about this as we continue talking with Dennis Henson and yours truly, Reverend Dr. D, here on the Body of Health series here on Tell Me Your Story. It's good health and wellness. Quality of life is what we're talking about. So now, once we go through this system of boosts, we can look at what we need. And this is interesting, to regulate, to keep the body in perfect harmony. And there's a word, I've used this before with you, Dennis, that a good friend of mine, whose interview I just happened to listen to the other day, her name is Linda Mackey. Again, I don't know if she's still with us or not, but nonetheless, I worked with her many years ago. She loved this. I loved this word when she would use it. Same kind of connotation here as homeostasis. Homeostasis. I thought, what? That's a cool word. It's a big word, but that also speaks to this issue of having good, perfect health in harmony. So let's talk a little bit about that in terms of regulation.
Okay, the things you need to regulate in order to increase your lifespan and how healthy you are would be your internal systems, digestive system, circulatory system, and so forth. You need to regulate glucose spikes, as you're well aware of, blood pressure, blood sugar, your mood. You know, you were telling me a minute ago that you were having a fight with yourself.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So that's part of mood. If you can regulate that, if you can learn so that when things start feeling bad, that you realize it and you say, wait a minute, I'm in control of my own mood and I can take care of things. Another thing is your circadian rhythm, because if you don't get good sleep, then everything else kind of falls apart. So that's something that needs to be regulated. And then you need to regulate your microbiome in your gut. If your gut is not working properly, then you're going to have a lot of health problems. So just keep that in mind and make that one of your goals to regulate that.
You know, I've heard a lot about gut health lately, and actually not just lately, because even back in the 80s and 90s, when I was producing health programs, the hosts and their guests would be talking even then about one's gut health
Mm-hmm.
and keeping it balanced. I'm trying to remember all of the elements that are within the gut. There's bacteria and there's all of these enzymes and acids and on and on and on and on. And because of the processed foods that we have been consuming, foods and beverages, it's really messed up our gut health to the
Right.
extent that, we are now really, again, this is my observation, a very unhealthy nation.
Right. And next week, we're going to be talking about the foods that help
Yep.
you live longer. And that those some of those foods are going to go right into gut health. I think cabbage is the main one,
Mm.
and sauerkraut, but we'll cover that next week.
Well, now there are some elements here that we have talked about before, but just as important as the regulation, which, by the way, thank goodness you don't need legislative bodies to enforce these regulations. That's entirely up to you. Okay.
Right.
But there's another element here in terms of what we regulate is what we actively work to decrease. So exercise or excess, I beg your pardon, excess stress, as I mentioned earlier. And then our AI, in reference to inflammation, are the ultimate age accelerators. And as I said, anti-inflammatory is our version here on Body of Health of AI. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Well, things you need to decrease, and you'll hear this over and over. Inflammation is a killer. So if you can increase chronic inflammation in your body, you're going to be a lot healthier, feel a lot better, live a lot longer.
Hmm.
And you need to decrease the external organisms, pathogens, bacteria, germs, mold, mildew, all of the things that shouldn't be in your body. I'm going through a detox right now, and it's working really great because the Body of Health system of detox, if you do it correctly, you'll feel good all the
Yeah.
way through. If you do it incorrectly, it's going to make you sick. So I
Yeah.
suggest that you go to the Body of Health website and learn how to do the detox correctly. Another thing you need to reduce is stress, or decrease is stress.
Hmm.
So, and cortisol is something that if you can eliminate or reduce the cortisol, that also helps with your stress.
Yeah. I think one of the best ways of thinking about this is with the inflammation issue, which all of this is tied together. There's nothing that's independent of the other. It's like either a hose in your car, like a radiator hose, or a garden hose. In the summertime, when I was living in Phoenix, you'd leave the hose out; it'd be hooked up to the spigot, And in the middle of July, you go out there in the afternoon, you're going to maybe water something. You start pulling on the hose and it's very elastic. And so you turn the water on and the hose actually will expand, not explode or anything, but it will expand before the pressure is released at the other end because the hose is now so warm or hot that the material that it's made from, like the rubber, if that's what in fact it is, it expands. That's just what it does because it's so hot. Now, that's not saying that your blood vessels, your arteries and veins get hot and that's why they expand. No, but it's the same example. And if this goes on for an extended period of time where, it expands and contracts and expands, there's stress that's put on those vessels. And eventually, and correct me if I'm wrong, eventually, isn't that part of what causes a stroke?
It is, yes. Yes, that we'll talk about this next week, but nitric oxide is really what you need to get into your body. And I found out another way to increase the nitric oxide. It's just by humming. I take L-arginine and citrulline first thing every morning, and I found out that if you just hum, that it increases its effectiveness by 15 times. And it's just a simple low hum so that you get a resonance in your skull, something like Once you find the exact tone, you can feel your skull resonating, and you've found the right pitch. So that helps with the nitric oxide, and the nitric oxide makes your veins and arteries subtle, like you were talking about with the hose.
Mm-hmm.
It makes them subtle so that they can expand. And it also puts a coating on the inside of the arteries and veins so that they don't tear, causing the cholesterol to come and cover the tear, which clogs the arteries and veins.
Let's talk a little bit about, since we're on this subject, what is in this conversation that we're having here. Of course, we just now jumped into the cardiovascular issue as well. Zombie cells? Talk to us about that.
Well, you threw me a curve. I don't know where we are. Can we edit this?
Sure. Let me hit this. Let me hit this because I did jump through that. Okay.
Okay. Let's go back to on the cardiovascular side where you come in.
Got it.
This is
Three.
You talking.
Right. Okay, here we go. Let me see here. 3, 2. And on the cardiovascular and cellular side, we want to decrease a few other things as well in terms of bad cholesterol, which in this case, they label it as LDL. Then there's also triglyceride levels, and we'll talk about that as well. Advanced, I believe it's glycation end products, like, of course, that's AGEs. And then there's cellular senses. I'm not even sure how to pronounce that. This is where I was coming in with the zombie cells that secret. It's a secret inflammatory signals. We've got some espionage going on there.
Yeah, they secrete inflammatory signals. So those are things that we need to try to reduce, try to decrease, and go away from, especially triglyceride levels. If you have high triglycerides, everything's going to go awry. So if you can find out what it takes to do that, and the way to find that out is go to Body of Health and just read. There's sections there that specifically address lowering your triglycerides, which is very important for heart attack, stroke, dementia, and a number of other things.
And there are a number of other things too that we are going to talk about here in just a moment to decrease, to eliminate, to, so to speak, clear the tracks. And we'll do that as we continue talking with Dennis Ensign, yours truly, Reverend Dr. D, here on the Body of Health series on Tell Me Your Story. We use all kinds of different analogies. I love using the automobile engine as an analogy of the human body in terms of keeping it functioning well and so forth. And when we are now talking about a smooth flow of just, we'll say, fluids throughout the body, whether it's blood or lymphatic and so forth. But there are some things to help to, as I mentioned earlier, clear the tracks. And we need to remove, this is a big one. And this falls under the category of those four white things you don't want to have in your diet. One of them is you want to remove sugar from the veins, as well as heavy metals, parasites. And then there's cellular metabolic waste, or lactic acid, damaged proteins. Now, lactic acid, am I not mistaken, is generated when one exercises, and you've got to get that out of the system, not right away, but I mean, it's just a byproduct of exercising. You're burning the fuel that you've put into the body, and that's one of the things you want to get out of the system.
Right. The easiest thing to get out of your system is sugar. You just don't have it. You just don't, it's very tempting. I know if you stop eating ice cream altogether in your whole life, that's been one of your treats you really love and enjoy. It's hard to do, but now they've got these sweeteners that taste just like sugar. I mean, you really can't tell the difference in xylitol, or I can't. And xylitol, I put it in my coffee and it tastes really great.
Yeah.
Heavy metals, of course, you do your detox to get rid of those and the parasites. So the removal is relatively easy to do. It's just a matter of deciding that you're going to do it. So the next thing that we want to talk about is increase. We've already talked about the things we want to decrease and want to remove. So increase is the next thing. So Richard, what do we need to increase?
Well, what we need to increase in this checklist is we need to increase our energy, our tissue repair. I find that one very apropos, as you and I, we're at the age where it will take longer sometimes for tissue to repair, as well as congestive function, which is interesting. When I wake up, my wife and I wake up sometimes in the morning, we're clearing our throats and trying to get that congestion out of the lungs, as well as we need to increase cardiovascular health. And you kind of addressed a little bit of that in terms of the decrease. How do we increase these four elements?
Another one is cognitive function too. So as you get older, you want to keep your mind clear and be able to think and so forth. So your mood and your physical strength, your circulation, we also want to increase those. Endorphins, your happiness, your attitude, your muscle tone, your flexibility. These are things you want to increase. We talked about nitric oxide production and how humming helps with that.
Mm.
And then BDNF is the brain derivative nootropic factor, which is a growth factor for your brain cells. And that's important to increase, obviously, because you don't want to get dementia.
No, that's true. And I know that has become almost, again, these are just my observations, but it's almost as if the whole cognitive aspect, as people are getting older, but it's actually starting to happen to younger people too. But there's the other one, and that's cancer, that is so prevalent today I mean, every time we turn around, for example, some of our favorite celebrities, for example, every time we turn around, another one has some form of cancer. Family or friends have some form of, and so forth. My present wife, she had back in 2021 a rare form of cancer. I'm thankful that I've had lots of tests. I've gone through the process. It was with my primary care. Nothing's shown up. I've found nothing in that regard, which is another reason why I'm trying to stay on top of the whole glucose thing. But let's, we're talking about the total brain and body optimization. We're going to wrap things up here by talking about this master framework with the ultimate foundation, I should say, and you referred to this a little earlier, which is also important: sleep and support, the double S's.
That's right. As you get older, sleep becomes more important, but a lot harder to achieve. So you need to study. I mean, the way that you do these things is by learning about them, reading about them. You know, the old saying is read something positive every day that moves you toward your goal. And if your goal is to live longer and feel better, your health, then read something about sleep, about balance, about detoxification, and about hydration. You know, people think if I just drink water, I'll be hydrated. Well, that is true. I mean, you need water and you need to drink it, but if you want to be fully hydrated, you need to mix that with a kind of salt that has a lot of trace minerals that aids in hydration, and the best one would be Celtic salt. Um, the pink Himalayan salt is good. I think it has 80 something minerals, but Celtic salt has 10 more minerals, trace minerals than that. And then sea salt is also good, but table salt doesn't have any. It's not good for you. The sea salt group actually tastes better. It makes your food taste better. But the table salt's so easy to get, the Celtic and the other kind of salt. So it's something that you have to be aware of and you have to move toward.
Exactly.
To keep your physical body, you need to you need to work on your skeletal support. You do that by lifting heavy things. You need to take vitamins and minerals. You need to learn about hormonal support and collagen synthesis. So these things, if you're not writing them down as we go, every time that we have one of these programs, I put an article up on the bodyofhealth.life. You can go there and get the article. Everything that we said is on there, plus additional information about how to make them happen.
It's something also I think that can be very beneficial for folks when we're talking about support. The sleep part, that's pretty self-explanatory, but the support, you're talking obviously internal support for the physical body and its cells and all that good stuff. But there's another form of support that I think it's equally as vital, and that is getting support from the outside, getting support from other people. And folks, you can do that. All you have to do is go to DennisJHenson.com, click on the health tab, and if you scroll down just a little bit, you will find a link to a group on Facebook that can be there for support. You can be of support to others, and they can support you in your endeavors to live a longer and healthier life. And that's the Body of Health group on Facebook. We hope that you'll check that out, as well as what Dennis also mentioned. If you scroll down just a little further on that same health tab page, you'll find the information that we've been talking about, not just on this program, but on the previous, I cannot believe I'm saying this, Dennis, the previous 6 months of programs. Absolutely incredible. Recipes and information. The blueprint is there that we've been talking about on this program as well. And then there's also a link to the website, bodyofhealth.life. And many, many of the things that Dennis and I have been talking about on this program that help to support you in your good health can be found there. Don't forget about the code word, if you will, to get yourself a 20% discount as you check out. And that code word is radio, RADIO. And we hope that you'll do that as we continue with the Body of Health here on Tell Me Your Story. Reverend Dr. D and Dennis Henson. And Dennis, when you look at all that we've just laid out like this, it is a complete roadmap. How fast you travel down the road, that's entirely up to you. But the fact that you have some support from us, from you, Dennis, and the website bodyofhealth.life, as well as DennisJHenson.com, this is a fantastic opportunity for people to, if they aren't already there, get on the road to better health.
That's right, Richard. And I hope everybody will tune in next week when we're going to be talking about the foods that you can eat to help do most of the things, some of the things you can't do with food, but most of the things on this list. And I hope everybody will understand that this is a very important list. You as you start to study health, you
Yeah.
see things reoccur. Richard mentioned I saw turmeric, and I got excited because we talked about turmeric. These things reoccur for a reason because they're extremely important to your health and longevity,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
the reason that we did it. So hope to see you next week, and I hope you'll visit our website.
Well, and what I find interesting is that there are people out there that are living a lot of years. As I mentioned earlier, my mother will be 92 in September, and she is still going gangbusters. Just she's enjoying her life. Yeah, she misses her husband. I miss my dad too, but we can remember them and yet still enjoy our lives. I'm thankful that he gave me through he and my mother the life that I have, that I'm able to talk to you, Dennis, and talk to our listeners and viewers about all of this that can make a world of difference. I don't know about your mom, Dennis, but my mom did everything she could for us kids, myself and my siblings, to give us a good start, to give us the information, let alone the food and so forth, to give us a good start. Some of us, and I kind of put myself in this category, that once I was out and about on my own in my early teens, running around town and everything, and had my own money, I wasn't doing myself a lot of great favors, but thankfully I was bicycling everywhere. So all of this stuff would flow through and I would filter it all out. It was when I became a little bit more sedentary, getting into my 20s, 30s, and 40s. But more specifically, when I started driving, that the exercise level diminished. And that's probably the main reason that I need to put back into practice. Even if I get one of those devices to put the back wheel of my bicycle on so that I can have a stationary bike to pedal, okay? So I can get that kind of exercise. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, as well as the rebounding. We're going to be getting one of those little trampolines,
Yes. Jennifer just added one to the body of health, so you can find one there if you're looking for one. And we're going to do a big special because the little rebounder
Mm-hmm.
is at the first of several of our list of our radio programs. The detox, you do the trampoline, the
Yeah.
list of things that you can do to become more healthy. The trampoline is the first one. Rebounder, not a trampoline. It's just a small rebounder. It's
Yeah.
inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
And Shopify lets you break the payments down so that you could maybe skip a supplement, get a rebounder, pay the same amount of money. In 3 months, you own the rebounder,
Right.
and you can take the supplement. You have the rebounder forever. So it's almost like it's free.
Yeah, there absolutely. And you'll also be able to get that 20% discount as well.
Exactly.
We are always talking about all of the good things to do for the body, but there's also that, and you mentioned this just a few moments ago, great things to do for the mind and the spirit, and that is to read something inspirational every day. And of course, we would encourage you to go to realimpactbook.com and get your copy of Real Impact Daily Inspiration Volume 1 in any of the 4 formats. There's hardcover, I have that version. There's paperback, I have that version. There's Kindle, I have that version. There's Audible, I have that version as well.
You're my best
and
customer.
yeah, oh yeah, and then you also have these special bundles that you create every so often throughout the months that allows people to get copies of other works that you have available to them through the realimpactbook.com. You'll have that special. Talk to us also about this opportunity that each one of us can avail ourselves of to help others to get a copy of Real Impact Daily Inspiration into the hands of young people, people who could use a kind word or a good word or a supportive and inspirational word?
Well, if you go to realimpactbook.com, on the my left hand, on the left hand side, there are links, and the next to the last link says help the children. So there's a GoFundMe page there. And if you want to donate something, all of the money that's donated there will be used to purchase books to put in libraries in disadvantaged communities and schools that don't have budgets for that kind of thing. So you'll really be helping someone change their life. Getting that book into the hand of a young person could make a tremendous change in how their life goes.
Well, I'll tell you that one of the things that's really cool is the fact that there are two opportunities for you folks to get, in essence, a free copy. One of them is if you already have unlimited Kindle, you have access to a Kindle version of the Real Impact Daily Inspiration Volume 1. The second way that you can get a free copy of the Audible is you go to realimpactbook.com, go through the pages and look for that wonderful little golden oil lamp that's on the cover of the page. It somehow jumped off the book and it's hidden itself on one of those pages. Yeah, don't do like I did. I went to page 1, and there you can see the book and the lamp. I went to page 1 looking everywhere. I couldn't find it for the love. I couldn't find it for love or money. It's because I went to page 1, and there are multiple pages there, folks, that you need to go through to find it. One other treasure. Okay, that's what I like to call it a nugget of gold, a gold nugget, and that is if you go to contact Dennis J. Henson. Not go to the website, stay on realimpactbook.com. He has his contact information, not only email, but a phone number. And you're looking for support. What better support could you get than to touch base with Dennis Henson? And I think that's quite phenomenal, Dennis, that you have made yourself available in that regard. I'm available through my website, which is richarddugan.com, and my email, which is basically the same thing, richard@richarddugan.com. And we hope that you will avail yourselves of us, get in contact with Dennis. And again, there are those 3 websites that are accessible through dennisjhenson.com. There's that website. There is bodyofhealth.life as well as realimpactbook.life. You also have a tab at Dennis J. Henson about with your, shall we call it Dennis J. Henson's library? Tell us a little bit about that real quick before we wrap up.
Well, I've done several books. I have a series, a real estate series that's coming out maybe any time. It's totally completed. I have a couple of other books I've finished. The 7 Secrets of Success, the Universal Laws of Success, and all of those are there in that tab as soon as they're available, or you can sign up to be notified when they're available. I think there's already 5 books up there that I've done that I won't mention. You can just go and look for those.
Sure. What about the extended volumes of Real Impact Daily Inspiration? Where are we on that? When can we expect the release of I know volume 2 is coming, and then there's another one, volume 3, which I think I'm really looking forward to. I think that'll be a lot of fun to read.
Well, it should be. I'm working on them.
Okay.
They're not close.
Yeah. Well, we don't want to rush you.
This is a big process. If you finished, it's totally finished. Then you still have a big process to go through. You have to get it, edited and get it covered. There's just a lot to it.
Yeah.
So it's like having a baby. It takes about 9 months.
Well, I'll tell you, I remember the process that I went through almost 2 years ago to get mine published. I had a goal of getting it published by the time my mother had her 90th birthday. I made the deadline on the book for the first time in 20 years or more. because I kept saying, I'm going to publish it this year. I'm going to publish it this year. And it's like the year would go by and the year would go by. And I finally said, no more, none of this delay. We're going to get it out there. At the very least, I will have it published. And my mother congratulated me on that. And I still love her review. I learned things about you I always wanted to know. So that was a lot of fun. Any chance that you may somewhere down the road write your life story?
That's the first time it's entered my mind is when you said that right then. So I don't know. I've got so many other projects going right now that I could add another one, but I don't know. I'm 78. If I live to be 125, maybe I'll get to that one.
All right. Well, we certainly learn about you on this program, The Body of Health. Dennis, we look forward to our next program. Going to be an exciting one. Be ready to write down these lists, or you can go to dennisjhenson.com and the health tab and scroll down and you'll find that list there. But that's next week. We hope that you'll join us then, as every week, for Body of Health here on Tell Me Your Story. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love Talal. Jeanette, I'm still listening. Dad, continue to be happy because I am. Smokey, I will see you on the other side. Mike, thanks for being in my life and letting me be in yours. To my dear brother, Michael, welcome to fatherhood, my friend. And to my dear friend, Zorro, aho, aho.